Hello, dear aspirants. This is Dr. Sourav Sir's class. We are solving some questions about statistics. So, this question is telling us that suppose x is a continuous random variable with probability density function, which is my fx equals to 1 by pi 1 plus 1 by 1 plus x plus 1 whole square, where our x is lying between minus infinity to infinity. So, my x is lying between the whole r. So define y equals to x by mod x when our x is not equals to 0 and 0 if our x is equals to 0. Then which of the following statements are true? There are four options here. So first option is telling us that expectation of y is equals to 0. Second option is telling us that probability when our y is greater than 0 is less than probability when our y is less than 0. Option 3 is telling us that probability when our y is less than 1 is lesser than probability of when our y is greater than 1. And the fourth option and the last option is expectation of y square is equals to 1. So now we are given a random variable x with the probability density function and a derived variable y. So let's analyze the each statement step by step. So given things are my this, that means the probability density function is fx equals to 1 by pi into this. Okay, when our x is lying between minus infinity to infinity, and y is defined as x by mod x if our x is not equals to 0 and 0 if our x is equals to 0. So now y takes the values. If we take our y as 1, then what will happen? Okay, y will be 1 if our x is greater than 0. Y will be minus 1 if our x is lesser than 0. And y equals to 0 if our x is equals to 0. So the PDF of x indicates x follows a shifted Cauchy distribution centered at minus 1. So analyze each statement. So our option 1 is telling us that expectation of y is equals to 0. Okay. So what can be done here? From the definition of y, the expectation is what? Expectation of y is equals to my integral minus infinity to infinity y of fx dx. Y into fx dx. Since our y is 1, for what? When our x is, sorry, when our x is greater than 0, y is minus 1 when our x is lesser than 0. And the Cauchy distribution is symmetric about the point about minus 1. So the positive and negative contributions will be cancelled out. So our expectation of y will be what? That will be 0. So first option of the question is my true. So now we have to think about our second option. So that is telling us that probability when our y is greater than 0 is lesser than probability of y is lesser than 0. Okay, so probability when our y is greater than 0 corresponds to probability when our x is greater than 0, and the same thing happens with our lesser case also. Yeah. So from the PDF fx, the center of the symmetry is my x equals to minus 1. Therefore, more probability mass lies on the left of x equals to 0. Making this thing probability of x less than 0 will be greater than probability of x greater than 0. So this statement is also true. So our option B of this question is also true. So now we have to evaluate our option 3 and 4. So 3 is telling us that probability when our y is less than minus 1 is lesser than probability of y greater than 1. Okay, so this is not possible because our y is belonging between minus 1, 0, 1. Thus, our probability of y less than 1 minus 1 will be 0, and our probability of y greater than 1 will also be 0. So this statement is also false statement. So our option C will be cancelled out. So now we have to check the option 4. That is telling us that expectation of y square is equals to 1. Okay, we have to check that. So from the definition of y, we can write that our y square is equals to 1 for y equals to plus minus 1, and y square will be 0 for my y when our y is 0. Thus expectation of y square will be what? We all know that expectation of y square can be written as probability when our y equals to 1 plus probability when our y is equals to minus 1. So that will be 1. Because my probability when our y is equals to 0 is 0 for a continuous random variable x. So this statement is also a true statement. So our option D is also a correct statement of this question. So the correct options of these questions are my A, D and B. Hope you understood, guys. Thank you.